What that will do is not them
Halo Season 2 Episode 2 Review by Joshua Christian McCoy, published February 8, 2024. After a compelling entrance, Halo's second season fires off new plot threads like ammunition. Luckily, a few of them hit hard. Halo Season 2 has an uphill battle in front of it. The first season was a mixed bag, but most of its successful elements were borrowed from better science fiction. Fans, angered by the show's new canon and focus on anything other than shooting aliens, were unkind to the first season. The new series has dug under the first to find a selection of new narrative threads, some of which are worth exploring. Sword launches with the same director behind Sanctuary, Debs Patterson. This will be her last outing in the season, but her creative vision felt powerful. Writer Amadik Ibra, who previously worked on Happy, The Sinner, and Tales of the Walking Dead, makes his series debut in this episode. He's working with some of the most moving emotional beats in the show to date, and he delivers some excellent moments. Related Halo Season 2 actor says new viewers don't need to watch the first one. A Halo Season 2 actor says that fans don't need to watch Season 1, which implies some promising possibilities for the anticipated follow-up season. Halo Season 2 debut wasn't overwhelmingly focused. It had 3 distinct plot threads with separate casts of characters and tons of new information. Sword flits between at least 6 narrative paths to create a broad portrait of the universe. The best of the selection is the Ballad of Riz 028. Riz suffered a point-blank blast from a Covenant plasma grenade, stuck fast to her armor as is tradition, and barely crawled away from the season finale. After the first episode's time skip, Riz struggles to return to the fold. She participates in the battle on Sanctuary, but her injuries limit her. Watching a Spartan deal with human vulnerability is endlessly compelling. Her teammates vary between sympathizing and pushing her to train harder. Her mentor is a blind former Spartan who offers brilliant insight into the life of a super soldier. It's one of the best emotional elements of the series to date. The show would do well to keep Riz's recovery in the spotlight. While Riz tries to reclaim her glory, Master Chief seeks to set his story straight. His new boss, James Ackerson, refuses to believe his version of what happened on Sanctuary. John saved Talia Flores, a fellow soldier in the field, but she didn't corroborate his story. When John tracks down Flores, he winds up at an awkward dinner with her extended family. It's a rare and moving moment of humanity in a series packed with aliens, taciturn super soldiers, and the occasional AI. One of Talia's cousins asks John about his kill/death ratio. It's surprisingly funny. The underlying thematic weight of John experiencing life through another soldier's eyes is shocking. Flores is a warrior who chose to fight, leaving behind a loving family. Flores throws herself into the conflict with faith and fear in equal measure. She's everything John is only now realizing he wants. It's a comedic family dinner scene that also happens to double as the best exploration of John 117's character to grace a screen. There's less to talk about in the other plot threads. In between Riz's touching recovery journey and John's introduction to the life he could have had, the other characters enjoy brief spotlights. Catherine Halsey is in a featureless white room playing backgammon with a mysterious young girl. She doesn't know why she's there, but the twist reveal hasn't hit its stride by the episode's end. James Ackerson has firmly thrust his fingers into several pies, enjoying a scene or two with most of the iconic characters. Kwan Ha is back, running from an increasingly inhumane selection of bounty hunters. Soren's Whitelayer and his son Kessler get the short end of the stick, mostly worrying and arguing about the fate of their missing loved one. It's a messy grab bag that spends most of its time setting tables for the future. Dead-style companion show available on Paramount+. This episode's companion piece saw the interviewer sit down with showrunner David Weiner. He briefly mentioned approaching the show's wartime setting through the lens of the relationships between central characters. He shouldn't have had to say that out loud. It should have been the basic building block of the series from the first season premiere. It wasn't, and that's part of the reason the first season didn't amount to much. Sword and Sanctuary live and die by that new standing policy, and they're considerably better for it. That tiny change could elevate a passable, if derivative, sci-fi action mess into a worthwhile exploration of a universe many fans love. Snippet of Master Chief in Halo TV series. Halo Season 2 started strong. Its premiere delivered one of the most compelling action scenes in the show to date, and this follow-up demonstrates a commitment to something more substantive. The season still has 6 episodes to explore, any of which could drag its quality into the perils of mediocrity of the show's initial launch. The first 2 episodes of Halo Season 2 aren't just better than any in Season 1. They're unique and engaging enough to provide hope for the next few. Related characters that Halo Season 2 should include. Halo fans were left wondering where many of the iconic characters were during the first season. Here are a few that should show up in Season 2. Characters that Halo Season 2 should include. By Maxwell Ballin, published June 30, 2023. Halo fans were left wondering where many of the iconic characters were during the first season. Here are a few that should show up in Season 2. The first season of Paramount Plus's adaptation of the beloved Halo franchise left a bad taste in many viewers' mouths, and the list of reasons as to why is not a short one. From the mishandling of the Master Chief to the out-of-place soap opera elements, and the convoluted plot that left viewers with more questions than it did satisfying answers. The series ultimately failed to captivate an audience that had been waiting so long to see their favorite universe come to life in a big-budget television format. Perhaps the most important reason for this failure, however, was the simple lack of so many characters who helped gamers fall in love with the franchise in the first place so many years ago. Now, this is not to say the Halo television series is completely devoid of familiar faces, because it's not. Jacob and Miranda Keyes, two iconic characters from the original Halo trilogy, have a big presence in the show, as does Dr. Catherine Halsey. But when it comes down to it, there are so many other great Halo characters whose exclusion from the show really only leaves viewers scratching their heads and wondering why such creative decisions were made. If the second season of Halo is to attempt to win back any of the goodwill it lost after the 10 premiere episodes, it will have to make a conscious effort to include more of the names and faces that are synonymous with the franchise to the majority of fans. Here are a few characters Halo's second season ought to bring into the spotlight. Related, all Halo Infinite ranked tiers explained. Blue Team. Anyone who is familiar with the lore of the Halo franchise knows that while Master Chief may be a one-man army in most of his game appearances, he is not always this way in the expanded lore. For many of his earlier years, Master Chief ran missions with fellow Spartans Kelly, Fred, and Linda. Collectively, they were known as Blue Team, and they are arguably the closest things to proper brothers and sisters that the Chief ever had. Due to this close bond and connection between the characters, fans were quite surprised when finding out the show would not include Blue Team, choosing instead to focus on the brand new Silver Team, which consisted of the Master Chief and 3 other Spartans nobody had really ever heard of up until that point. While this left potential for the show to give fans something they hadn't seen before, in execution it ultimately felt pointless. The 10 episodes that were released did not give a satisfying justification for this replacement, as Silver Team only really added up to a hollow shadow of what fans loved about Blue Team. If Season 2 wants to remedy this issue, simply sending Silver Team off in favor of bringing in the beloved Kelly, Fred, and Linda would be a wise decision. Sergeant Johnson. One of the first characters players met in 2001 after booting up Halo Combat Evolved was Sergeant Avery Johnson, who immediately won the audience over with his entertaining quotes and charismatic personality. While Johnson did not have a pivotal role in the first game, he went on to be more involved in the story of Halo 2 and Halo 3, solidifying his importance to the story of Halo. When it comes down to it, removing the charm of Sergeant Johnson from Halo is equivalent in many ways to removing our lead Sergeant Hartman from Full Metal Jacket. It's just not a good decision. A character like Johnson has more than earned his place in a live-action Halo show, and could absolutely find a time and place to shine. Johnson is known to team up with the aforementioned Miranda Keyes here and there in the games, and there is no doubt that fans would be itching to see this duo alongside each other in live action. Introducing him as a character in Season 2 would undoubtedly be a wise choice. The Arbiter. One of the most controversial decisions made in the story of Halo 2 was to divide the gameplay time between Master Chief and the Arbiter, a high-ranking Covenant elite who acted in opposition to the Chief for the majority of the game. However, fans soon learned to love the Arbiter through his very personal and well-written story arc in the series' second installment. Said story arc added many important and interesting layers to the world building and mechanics of the original Halo trilogy, injecting much-needed nuance and depth into the franchise. While the Halo series' first season did have somewhat of a Covenant perspective subplot, the Arbiter was nowhere to be found. While the justification for this may be that, like in the games, the Arbiter had not yet received his prestigious rank at this time, that is a pretty weak excuse when considering that even prior to this promotion, Vel Vanamy, which was the Arbiter's real name prior to
Slower
receiving the
feeding.
Arbiter rank, was a well-respected Covenant commander who was involved in
Little
much of the
longer time
human
to
Covenant
feed.
war.
Yeah.
Showing his early days prior to
I
becoming
talked to
the Arbiter
Ken.
we know
We'll
and
pause
love would
that.
make for an interesting setup that could be paid off down the
Yeah,
line,
it's
and
okay.
give some on-screen backstory for a
Go ahead
character
and
fans
listen to it, and then I'll
desperately
talk
want
to
to
it.
see. Even if he's not
That sound
sporting
good?
his iconic armor and title yet, having Vadami in the second season of Halo would be a welcome addition for fans everywhere.
Hello.
Halo is streaming now on Paramount Plus.
I saw Halo on there.